Hey everyone, I'm doing my next chapter of my John Maxwell. So today, because the weather was a little nicer, I decided to go out and go for my walk. I got an hour's walk in today, which was good. And I don't know when I'm going to actually notice the difference in my clothes and I'm going to lose the weight, because I'm doing everything I can. I'm cutting calories, I'm exercising, I'm drinking lots of water. But for some reason, I'm just not losing the weight. So let's see how long it's going to take. I don't know. But I'm holding myself accountable. In our John Maxwell, we have something called an accountability partner. So it's somebody that you partner with and you set a goal, and then that person helps to keep you accountable. So you touch base with them maybe once a week or once a month, whatever it is for you, to help you to focus on reaching your goal. So for me, I'm not doing it with anybody. I'm using an app that I use to track my calories, and I'm also doing intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is something that I heard about through my cousin in England, and she recommended a book that I got and I read it. But basically it's where you make sure that you eat for an 8-hour period, and after that you don't eat anything. You can drink water, which is something that we grew up with, but we didn't think about it as intermittent fasting. And that gives the body a chance to break down the fats in your body and for your body to function properly. So that's one of my goals. And for today, this chapter is living a 24 karat gold life. And it's interesting the examples that John Maxwell has provided, because I think that we've all seen lots of movies about how people get to the top because they come from the right families, or there's this kind of cliquey culture where even people know that they're cheating on the test, but they're still passing them, and they go to all these elite schools in America. So I guess that's part of life, whether it's here or somewhere else. But we also have to hold ourselves accountable to say, do we want to live with integrity, or do we want to buy into that kind of a culture, knowing that it's going to get us those good paying jobs, it's going to get us those fast cars and everything else, but are we willing to compromise our ethics? Because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And he gives examples. I think in America, the football is very popular. So you find that the players get traded, the quarterbacks, and they get paid a lot of money because they could easily lose their health. If there's one accident or something happens on the field, they could easily lose their health and become disabled. So that's part of the reason that they get paid a lot of money. The same thing with the racing car drivers. They get paid a lot, they get a lot of sponsorships, they get a lot of people backing them up, because they are representing the culture, they're representing the organization. So John Maxwell is basically giving us examples of what we can focus on and how we can apply it in our lives. And the gift of character being a choice. So we can choose our faith, we can choose our attitudes, we can choose our character. In the short term, that might bring success, like what happened with this woman in Vietnam, who's now facing the death penalty. She got all the money, she got everything, but now her life is at stake. And I don't know about all the other people that were involved in her shell companies. I don't know about Deloitte and EY and how all of them are being impacted by this. But I've seen the documentaries on her life. And so that's something we can ask ourselves, because there are still some parts of America where they have the death penalty. There are still some other parts of the world, not just in the Asian countries where they have the death penalty. So we have to choose life when we're asking ourselves about the golden rule, about what would we want done to others and what would we want done to ourselves. And it is about our choices and about rising above our limitations. I know that coming from different cultures, it makes it harder because the culture expectations here are not the culture expectations maybe in Africa or India or somebody or somewhere else. So we have to get used to the cultures where we are and understand the culture where we are and understand the laws where we are. And it can be very complicated. I still have to take courses, I still have to learn, I still have to adapt with my human resources. I am always trying to upgrade my skills in the hopes that I will get that good paying job, that I will get something there where I can use my skills, because I do use my skills, my HR skills, my administration skills, my whatever education I have, but I'm not paid well for it. And my objective and my goal is to get a good paid job. And that's what my mother wants for me as well, because I've worked hard and I've earned it. And we are in circumstances where there's a possibility I could get it here, but if I need to leave the country, I need to leave the country. That's what it comes down to. So we have to adapt and we have to make sure that we keep our integrity and we keep it in all situations. Wrong decisions leave scars. So there's an example John Maxwell gives where a man takes his son and he tells him to get a hammer and they put nails into a pole in a fence. And over time he gets his son to take out one nail at a time. And then he says to the son, "What do you see now in the pole?" And he says, "Oh, well, there's lots of holes." And that's how our lives are. When we get hurt over and over and over, it leaves a lot of holes in our lives. But with faith, we can choose to move forward and we can choose to continue living our lives. We'll never be perfect again. It's like when you grow up in a war. You don't think about life the same way as other people. You think about it very differently. You've lost people in a war. You've seen people come home in body bags. You've seen blood on the streets. You've lived a different kind of life compared to somebody who has never gone through that. So it's important for us to remember that. And it's something that I know. It's something that I know about myself. And there's a saying that, where you're born shouldn't determine whether you live. But unfortunately it does. And if you're born in Africa, your chances of success are 100 times less compared to somebody born in Canada. And even if we get the education, we upgrade our skills, it can be very difficult. If you're a woman, that's another step back. But that doesn't mean that we give up and that we give in when there's pressure. We have to keep moving forward and we have to keep making decisions today to create a better tomorrow for ourselves. And that's what I am trying to do. That's what Cynthia Cooper tried to do when she held WorldCom accountable. And that's what we have to try to do. We're not always going to succeed. We're not going to always win and come out first, but we're not getting to the top on our own. There are people with us, and if it's lonely at the top, it's a good kind of lonely. Because if you put in the work and you work hard and you excel and you win those Employee of the Months, then you've earned it. You haven't gone and cheated somebody and stolen from somebody and said, "Oh yeah, I've got all this now." And it happens in some places. It happens in universities, it happens in businesses, it happens in some places that we would never imagine. I was shocked when I heard about it happening at the university in Nigeria. But slowly things are changing and things will come right. Maybe not in my lifetime, but things will come right, because the more of us that do it, the better it will be in the long run. So all of us have difficult circumstances. All of us go through trying times. It's like now, I'm again being let go right before Christmas. I'm again not going to have a Christmas with family. And I know my aunt in the US would love for me to come, but I really don't see the point in going there and not having gifts, not having money, not having an income. And if I do go, I'll probably lose my employment insurance because I'll be out of the country, because you have to disclose it. So I can't only think about myself, I also have to think about them. Because if I go there, I don't want to go empty-handed. I don't want to just go and say, oh yeah, I'm just coming now. Yes, I miss them. I would love to see them. I'd love to see my cousins. I'd love to see my friends who are there. The last Christmas I had, one of my friends was still alive. She passed away now. I never got to see her after that Christmas. And when I went, after the investigation into me closed, I didn't ask, can you please take me to see her? Because I thought, oh, you know what, I'll see her. And then the next thing I found out, she had cancer and she passed away. So she was young and she had young children in her family. But that's the reality of life. We don't know when it's going to be our final day. So we can take this golden rule and we can apply it to our little decisions. The little decisions add up to the big decisions in the end. And we can ask others to hold us accountable. For me, I have good friends who hold me accountable. They're not here, but I keep in touch with them. We have WhatsApp today, we have Facebook, we have all kinds of internet connections where we can stay in touch. So they hold me accountable and I hold them accountable. And even for things like going to church or losing weight or going for my walks, I'll ask them, did you do this? And they'll ask me, did you do this? So that's how we help each other, and that's how we can build the accountability. We don't have to do it with a coach. Sometimes people do need a coach and they pay for it. But we can do it with our friends, we can do it with our teams, we can do it with our colleagues, and that's how we can build accountability into our teams and into our lives. And that's what we do in our work. We don't have performance appraisals at the end of the year. We have real-time coaching. So if there's something that happens, if there's something that needs to be taken care of, we'll discuss it as soon as we can, and then we'll try to make adjustments. Because we can't control the circumstances, but we can adjust to them. It's like when COVID-19 hit and they closed down a lot of the offices in India because it was so bad. All those jobs came to us in Canada. So we had to adjust and we had to take on the extra work. And then once things got better, then they took the jobs back to India. So that's how we can look at integrity. We can look at how we are helping our companies, how we can be available. And certain things we can't change. Like we can't change the color of our skin. We can't change how tall we are. We can't change where we're born. But the things we can change, we do try to change for ourselves. And that's the chapter for today on character. I hope it helps you. I've given some examples and how I apply it in my life and what I do with it. And when I go into work, I apply it in my work as well. I'm not just teaching people or building other leaders. I'm applying it in my work and in my life. And the more leaders I develop, the better it is, because all of us can influence others. And that's what leadership is about. And we can be honest with people. and we can develop what he's calling 24 karat gold lives. But not everything that is shiny is gold. We also need to remember that. And J.C. Penney, he gave the example of how the man who founded J.C. Penney, he chose leaders, he chose men, he invested in them, and then he made them partners. And he chose people with character because that was important to him. It's the same way if you work for the banks. If you work for the banks, they give you shares in the bank. And you have to stay with them a certain amount of time. And then after that amount of time, those shares will be vested. So then you can cash them, you can get the money from them. But until you complete that tenure with them, those shares do not vest. So that's how you become a partner. You're not just an employee, you're now a partner in the bank. And a lot of the banks have it. The banks I worked in had it in Canada, in Africa. So that's how you can think of partnership. And partnership doesn't have to mean that you agree on everything. In fact, it's better if you don't agree, because you need to have somebody that thinks different from you, that can help to balance you, and where you can discuss different ideas, because if you both think the same way, it can lead to the downfall of your company. That's why on the boards they'll have people of different backgrounds, different values, so that everybody can have their share and their say, and that's how people are working together on the boards. So I hope that helps people, and I hope you can take it and use it in your teams, in whatever organizations you're in, and you can trade on the golden rule. And of course, remember that this golden rule, we have to remember the cultural aspect, because if you think about different cultures, in the Judaic culture, Judaism and Christian, the widow is more protected, or is supposed to be. And when the father dies, the children are supposed to get more special treatment, more concern, and more help. But in other cultures, when the man dies, they'll take the woman and they'll put her in an ashram. And sometimes they'll even make the woman become a prostitute. It's like me, when I go into work, some places I've worked, that because I'm single and I'm not married, some of the Indians will say, oh, madam is here, meaning, oh, like she's a prostitute. I tell them off, I say, I'm a Christian. You don't treat me that way. And they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't know you were Christian. I said, yeah, well, you shouldn't treat anybody that way. It doesn't matter whether I'm a Christian or not. But that's what I'm talking about when I say we bring our cultures with us. Because we were not treated that way in Zimbabwe. I was treated with respect. So I don't accept it. And people have to think about their own cultures and what they're willing to accept in their cultures. Because we're living in Canada now, and Canada also has this thing about cultural differences and accepting cultural differences, but to what point and to what extent? Me, I don't accept everything, and I make it very clear. And yes, you sometimes suffer for it, like I do, but it's not worth me giving my life because I don't accept what other people think is right. I'm not willing to go in the jail and stay in the jail because other people think that I should just keep quiet and not speak up. So we all have choices to make. So that's the chapter for today. I'm a John Maxwell speaker. I'm part of the John Maxwell team, and I'm looking for speaking engagements. I'm looking for work. Many of us are working and applying for speaking engagements, and that's something that is perfectly acceptable in Canada. Teleperformance did accept it when I told them I was doing it, and they told me that if opportunities arise for me to speak and to help them, they will let me know. So that's good.